After studying this module, you shall be able to know the importance of media objectives, learn about the different types of media, identify and differentiate traditional media from alternative media, evaluate appropriate timing of targeting, and analyze an approach to media management through a combination of reach, frequency, and impact.
Slide 6. This module is about media management. Let's first understand how media management is related with advertising and marketing. Media management is one of the M's of advertising. Mission, money, message and media are the 4 M's of advertising. Advertising itself is one of the elements of the promotions mix of a marketing strategy. Once we've understood the context of media management, let's look at the steps. Media management has 4 steps: selecting the target audience, specifying media objectives, understanding the types of media, and planning media timing. Selecting the target audience. This is the first step of media management. This is extremely important because the kind of target audience will determine which media they expose themselves to. Specifying media objectives. Media objectives means what is the appropriate media to hit the target audience. This will be determined by what is your purpose. If your purpose is just to remind your audience by a fleeting exposure, you could advertise on billboards. But if you would like to explain a complete demonstration or a detailed 3D view of a technical product, then you would prefer television as a medium. So the objectives will determine the choice of the medium. Before finalizing on the choice of the medium, you would have to understand the types of different media so that you could balance the pros and the cons. Television is a very costly medium compared to newspaper, but the newspaper offers an additional detail, a semi-permanent record, which television does not. So while television has greater impact, newspaper may be more appropriate for a particular target audience. And once the types of media have been understood, it is important to analyze the media timing. By timing we mean when to use that medium. For instance, just before the summer months, television advertising shows an increased frequency of ads relating to soft drinks, Limca, Fanta, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or refrigerators or air conditioners. Whereas just before the winter season, you find ads of woolens and other winter clothing. So timing is about when to use which media for a greater impact.
Now, after forming the marketing strategy, the further step is to understand advertising strategy, which can be further divided into perceiving advertising objective, deciding advertising budget, deciphering the message strategy, and the media strategy. The advertising strategy, in turn, helps to carve out a budget for media strategy. We try to interpret media strategy by first looking at selection of target audience, followed by specification of media objectives, understanding the characteristics of different media, and planning the timing of the ads to be placed in different media. It is to be realized that management of media involves choosing the most cost-effective combination of media to cover the target consumer audience with the required number of exposures to achieve the advertising goals. Thus, advertising goals and media objectives should be closely related. For instance, if our advertising objective is to induce trial of a particular brand in a new market, fulfilling this would require a media objective of achieving a certain number of minimum exposures to induce the initial trial purchase. By exposure, we here mean the actual watching of the ad by a person. Now, for accomplishing these minimum exposures, it is necessary to specify the media objectives, such as reach and frequency, as the ultimate effect of exposures on audience behavior depends on these objectives. By reach, we mean the percentage of target audience that has seen the ad at least once. It is determined by the number of different individuals exposed to the ad minimum once during the specified time period. Reach is particularly important during the launch phase of a product life cycle, or when a brand is to be promoted to an undefined target market, or where the product is purchased with less frequency. Frequency, on the other hand, implies the average number of times the target audience is exposed to the advertisement. Ad frequency is important when the product is frequently purchased. For instance, in case of fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG, like toothpaste and soaps, which are used and purchased frequently. Frequency of ads also helps when the consumer has high resistance to adopting the product, or where there is high competition in the market or the product is complex. Increased ad frequency helps to clarify the doubts in the consumer's mind. It is deduced by some marketers as a thumb rule that 3 repetitions is sufficient to drive the message into the audience, as the first ad would describe what of the brand, the second ad would deliver the benefits, and the third ad would remind or reinforce the message. But it is seen that this viewpoint is considered to be too simplistic, as consumers are prone to forgetting and tune out from channels during the ads or flip magazine pages without reading some ads. Further, it is the human nature to focus on material and information that conforms to one's beliefs and motives, rejecting other material that is seen superfluous. So, it can be seen that ad repetition and frequency gains importance to break through these mental habits. A graphical representation of analyzing the reach and frequency through plots taking time, that is weeks, as the base, shows that the advertising medium has been able to cover 80% of the target population in the beginning of the second week itself. It can also be seen that by fourth week, each person would have viewed the ad at least 16 times. Additionally, gross rating point (GRP), which shows the total number of exposures and is calculated as reach multiplied by frequency, is a rough measure of the total exposures delivered to the market in a particular time period. So if the reach is 70% of the target audience and an average exposure frequency of 5 is delivered, then the GRP is 350 for this media campaign. This GRP can be compared with the GRPs of other media campaigns to compare which meets the advertising goals more effectively. Impact is the subjective effect of an exposure on the target audience through a medium. For instance, an advertisement on fun toys for children will likely have a greater impact when carried on cartoon channels or billboards in fun parks or amusement parks rather than UTV Action Channel. The qualitative impact of an ad is increased by synchronizing the message, celebrity of the ad with the appropriate context of the target audience. The best medium to deliver such an ad would be the one that the target audience is exposed to the most, or the medium the audience deems is trustworthy and credible. For instance, magazines are deemed more credible than television ads, but advertisements on nutrition or food brands would be inappropriate in automobile magazines such as Autocar India. Choosing the right combination of media to reach the target audience with the least cost is the main job of a media planner. The media planner achieves this through an understanding of the characteristics, including the pros and cons of each medium, and employs these to the best advantage. Media is broadly classified as traditional media and alternative media. First, we look at the different types of traditional media that exist. These include newspapers, magazines, radio, television, internet, and outdoor marketing. We know that newspapers are an effective form of media offering timeliness, high credibility, and acceptance. They are appropriate to cover a local target market, and owing to the timeliness ads can be synchronized with sales offers or product launch dates. However, they have a short life, poor color, as well as reproduction quality. Newspaper ads also have a high visibility when full cover page ads are booked simultaneously on a date in two or three major dailies. This ensures complete market coverage and awareness of the brand. Moving on to television channels, which have high reach and catch the attention and imagination of the viewers through combining sight and sound qualities that no medium has. However, the cost is quite high and easily eats up a majority of the budget. Media planner justify the increased cost by the impact as well as the fact that high audience reach results in lower per unit cost compared to other media. Television also suffers from the switching problem of viewers flipping channels, resulting in a fleeting audience. Moreover, there are too many ads before, between, and after a program, resulting in a clutter. Next, we look at magazines that offer the advantage of long shelf life, that is, retained at homes and libraries for at least a week. Quality color reproduction, credibility, and high target audience selectivity. Magazines are more suitable to achieve high hit rates with target audiences, as magazines on a wide variety of specialized topics cater to well defined audiences. But major drawbacks of magazines are waste circulation and reduced consumer reading habits due to increased digitalization. Another type of traditional media is radio, which is often underestimated owing to its lower attention and audio production. However, its high demographic selectivity, that is, regional channels, low cost, and mass appeal, easily outweighs these aspects. Radio has universal appeal with people on the move, and its ability to provide access to target audiences tuning in at particular times and channels makes it a particularly attractive medium. Lastly, we look at billboards, which are sometimes called outdoor advertising and are a very useful medium to create repeat exposure at low cost and minimal competitive clutter. However, billboards can offer only geographic selectivity but not audience selectivity. Other traditional media, such as direct mail, catalogs, vouchers, and brochures, offer high selectivity and personalization, but can be looked upon as junk mail. A comparison of media across different criteria shows that television would be an appropriate medium if the advertiser is looking for reaching the mass audience with high impact. On the other hand, if the interaction with the target audience is important, keeping a moderate impact, then online advertising may be more appropriate. As we can see, the tabular form of comparison of media with respect to impact, reach, cost effectiveness, interactivity, wastage, target audience reach, and perceived credibility for television, print media, radio, outdoor advertising, and internet is given. Television as understood has the highest impact and good credibility, but also seeks high absolute cost and wastage. On the other hand, print media and internet have high credibility along with medium to high impact. Radio and outdoor activities have a medium perceived credibility but a relatively lower cost. Nowadays, we see that with increased advertising on all media, people are being bombarded with messages. The resultant consumer reaction to clutter being ignoring the different stimuli. For instance, an average consumer is exposed to more than 1,000 stimuli in a shopping mall, like poster ads, small product shelf ads, product labels, scheme announcements, peer shopping activity, etc., but tends to recall very little. Advertising clutter is therefore leading to search for newer ways to catch the attention of the prospective consumers. It can be increasingly seen that new media or alternative media, which refers to the non-traditional or unexpected communication tools and events that can be just as creative as the messages, are on the rise. This is particularly relevant for targeting teenagers as they are more open to experimenting and trying new forms of media. Moreover, non-electronic new media, webisodes, edutainment, gaming, and guerrilla marketing are some of the alternative media that are being used creatively to gain entry into the consumer's mind space. Non-electronic new media refers to selecting unexpected places to advertise upon to catch the attention of the consumers while they visit their routine shopping or office spaces. There have been instances of advertisements that has been placed on lifts in corporate offices and even on the backside of the toilet stall doors. Now, we look at understanding webisodes, which are basically the online version of television serials with episodes on a story. However, webisodes are generally short and revolve around the brands that have been animated. A popular example is that of BMW Films series at the bmwfilms.com, which feature BMW car models in high-action film roles. Moving on to edutainment, which involves the use of brands in the content of television shows or movies. Also referred to as branded entertainment, the brand usually occupies a central role in the movie, such as Ferrari ki Savari. A toned-down version of this is product placement ads, where the products and brands are shown for few seconds in the movies, such as the use of Domino's Pizza in Fir Hera Feri or Bonvita in Koi Mil Gaya. Next, we look at video gaming, which has taken long strides in advertising, with brands taking full-fledged star roles in games such as Pepsi Man. The gamer then plays with the star or the brand, reinforcing his use and preferences for the brand every time the game is played. Lastly, we seek to interpret guerrilla marketing, which involves the use of unconventional and innovative ideas for generating buzz by reaching out to the target audience in their daily places of work or travel. For instance, the use of actors enacting the use of a brand in the ground floor lobby of a corporate office. Similarly, Red Bull uses a vehicle colored and shaped as a Red Bull can and drove it in the India Gate and other areas of Delhi. These unusual approaches can be done on a limited budget and generate a lot of word of mouth publicity. Now, it is very critical to analyze the timing of the ad for a good response. Depending on the objectives and target audience, the advertisements are timed according to the viewer habits. For instance, school-going children may be targeted by advertising in afternoons, mothers in the late morning, afternoons, or late evening, and men in the peak news watching evening slots. Other forms of timing may be increased advertising of seasonal products like air conditioners, refrigerators, soft drinks, etc., before the summer sets in.
Let's now discuss media timing. Why do you think media timing is important? This is because you save cost by ensuring you advertise only when appropriate. What is media timing? Media timing basically means timing when your ad is released in a particular medium. Say a television channel, maybe you watch Sub TV or Star TV. When would it be appropriate to release the ad? Should it be on a daily basis? Should it be on a weekly basis? Should it be in a particular season? All of these issues are what we discuss in media timing. Over the entire year, an advertiser plans how his ads will be displayed on billboards, on television, in magazines. A cohesive strategy is made, and this cohesive strategy for the year is called an advertising campaign. Timing of that campaign saves money. Crores and crores of rupees are spent every time an ad is released on television or in the magazine or on billboards. If you look at an average budget of a company for a particular month, you will find it runs into many crores, sometimes more than 50 crores. So if the advertiser decides not to advertise in a particular month or to advertise less in that month, naturally crores and crores of rupees will be saved. What is scheduling? Scheduling basically refers to timing the media in a way that matches your needs. Let us assume that you are basically trying to advertise a product which is used in the summer. Would you rather advertise just before the summer season, or would you advertise during the summer season, or do you feel you should advertise towards the end to pick up sales? Generally, it is found that advertisers prefer to advertise just before the season. This ensures that before the advertising clutter happens, before the consumer mindset is blocked, there is a perception of a product entering their mind just before they buy it. During the summer season, you could have a regular but less advertised version coming through. There are three main approaches to media timing: continuity, flighting, and pulsing. We will discuss each one of these one by one. Continuity. The continuity approach, as the name suggests, talks about releasing advertisements in the media on a continuous basis, on a regular basis. It may be daily, it may be weekly, it may be monthly. Why do we use this approach? This approach is used for a regular reinforcement, a regular reminder. What is this suitable for? This is most suitable for routinely purchased items. Items such as soaps, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and other items that you purchase every month, and in some households bi-monthly. So if you are continually reminded of Colgate, you are continually reminded of Pepsodent and other brands, you tend to remember to buy Lux, to buy Dettol soap, and so on and so forth. The next approach to media timing is flighting. Flighting has been derived from the word flight, from bird flight. Initially, when the bird is small, it is a small chick. As it grows, it starts to hop. After hopping, it flaps its wings and makes a burst of effort to fly. It rises a few feet and then falls. This burst of effort and falling is called flighting. In media timing, this basically means heavy advertising for a small period of time, followed by a gap of no advertising. Again heavy advertising for a small period of time, followed by a gap of no advertising. This is flighting. When do we use this? This method is basically used when we are interested to bring about change in the attitude of the audience. Many times we want that the audience should accept the usage of our brand, or accept the way the features have been created, or to reposition our brand. In such a case, flighting is very successful. Attitudinal change requires heavy advertising, because the conversations of the mind are to be altered over time of masses of people. So you need to advertise in different ways, and it needs to be done intensively. However, such intensive advertising cannot be continued all year long, because the budget would be too costly. So heavy advertising is done and then a gap is given, again heavy advertising is done and a gap is given. For instance, we look at the case of Kellogg's. When Kellogg's launched itself in the Indian market, it was not accepted as an acceptable cornflakes brand, because people are not used to eating cornflakes in cold milk. They would soak cornflakes in warm milk and then take it. And if Kellogg's is put in warm milk, it sogs up. Gradually, in the last 15 years, Kellogg's used flighting advertisements to change the attitude of people, and in its latest survey conducted, it was found that more than 60% of the metropolitan cities in India are now using Kellogg's in cold milk. This is a great achievement. In flat 15 years, an attitudinal change was brought about through intensive advertising, followed by gaps of no advertising, which is what is flighting. The third approach to media timing is pulsing. Pulsing is derived from the word pulse. Our body has a pulse. When the heart beats, our blood pressure rises, and when it relaxes, then it falls. But is our blood pressure ever zero? Never. There is a minimum blood pressure maintained all the time. This is called pulsing, where you maintain a minimum level of advertising throughout the year with bursts of increased advertising in between. This is why it is also called a combination of the continuity and flighting strategies. Continuity because there is always some level of advertising, a minimum level of advertising. So there is a continuous flow of ads throughout the year. And flighting because in between you have bursts. What is this appropriate for? This is appropriate for products which are used throughout the year, but may be used more frequently in certain periods. For instance, underarm deodorants. Underarm deodorants are useful for people who sweat a lot, and some people sweat in the winter as well. But naturally, since more people sweat in the summer, you would like increased advertising for these deodorants in the summer and continuous advertising throughout the year at a minimum level. There are many pulse schedules that can be used by advertisers, such as steady pulse, seasonal pulse, erratic pulse, and startup pulse. Steady pulse, as the name suggests, is steady advertising with bursts of advertising according to a fixed schedule. It could be in the beginning of every month there will be a burst of advertising, and in the next 3 weeks it could have just continuous advertising. Seasonal pulse, as the name suggests, this is bunching up heavy advertising just before seasons, followed by continuous advertising throughout the season. Erratic pulse refers to irregular ads normally used for changing old patterns of thinking. So, when habits or attitudes need to be changed, this method is preferred. Startup pulse. This is used to launch new products or to launch new features of old products. This is for heavy advertising to induce increased awareness and trial.
Another form of timing ads is scheduling. Scheduling, as over the entire year or season, is an important part of designing the advertising campaigns. There are three main approaches to scheduling, that is continuity, flighting, and pulsing, that are broadly used. Continuity refers to a continuous or regular pattern, that is daily, weekly, etc. The ads are run without any gap in the determined frequency, for example, 5 times daily. This approach is best suited for routinely purchased items, such as soap, where the reminder objective of advertising is predominant. Another approach to scheduling is flighting. This involves heavy advertising followed by periods of no advertising. This approach is used when the heavy advertising is required to bring about a change in the attitude. Once attitude is formed, they are less likely to be forgotten. The last is a combination of flighting and continuity and is called pulsing. Here, a minimum level is maintained throughout with bursts of increased advertising in between. A graphical representation of the three approaches is shown by means of a bar graph taking weeks as the base. In a nutshell, it can be concluded that media management is an integral part of advertising management. An understanding of the characteristics of different media enables appropriate selection, which is in tune with the media objectives of reach, frequency, and impact. Once media are selected, the desired approach to media timing, that is continuity, flighting, or pulsing of the advertisement, is determined according to the target audience habits and objectives.